Hello, low ego action heroes. I'm Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com, and it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It is time for Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I'm going to get a couple of my screens ready. As you know, you can ask me questions a number of ways. You can send them through Twitter with hashtag DeltaCX. You can send them through the LinkedIn chat or the YouTube chat. And then I also have the Ask Anonymously link, which is deltacx.link/AMA. It will take you to a one-question survey, and I will read out loud anything you put in that box. So if you want to be anonymous, don't put your name. I did get a whole flurry of them just some minutes ago. So as soon as I have all of my screens open and I'm checking all of the chat rooms, I will get started with the ones that have already come in. And today I've been speaking for the last roughly 10 hours straight, so I have switched to decaf with coconut milk because my throat is killing me. All right. Hi, Hassan. Okay, you're first. Let's take a look at the anonymous questions that I got so far, and I will start with them. The first one says, what soft skills do I need to have as a UX designer? Great question. Now, I find that soft skills tend to fall into two buckets. One would be personality traits that we're hoping people have or have developed or are improving, and one would be different kind of work-based skills that are soft. And so for the traits that would be best for a UX designer, we've got a video about that. Go into the live stream podcast playlist and look for the 10 traits every UX practitioner should have. Also remember, YouTube search is really pretty good. If you go into YouTube and you write Delta CX and a couple of words, you're going to find a bunch of stuff. So you can always put Delta CX traits, and that should lead you straight to our video on the personality traits that I believe go best with UX. Hi, Paul. As for the other skills that you might need that are more work-based skills and not human personality traits, I find that what's really important for UX is going to be presentation. So being able to write a concise and compelling presentation. Hi, Darren. Being able to write a concise and compelling presentation, being able to deliver it comfortably. That means a little bit of practice with your public speaking. Remember that very often we get questions after we present some of our work, so an ability to be comfortable taking spontaneous questions, not knowing what someone might ask you. I'm pretty good at that, but you can be too. Sorry, I had to switch to decaf because I've been talking since 10 a.m. and it's 6:33 p.m. So I'm a little raw. Let's see, other soft skills that you would need to have to be a UX designer. I don't know how soft this is, but I do recommend, I think I have this in the personality traits, but I do recommend that we need to have a little bit of lawyer spirit in us because very often we are trying to be an advocate for our customer or user. And sometimes that is in the face of a team who really doesn't care or is pretending to care. And that means that we're going to have to be a little bit of a fighter and possibly be a little bit adversarial and say, no, wait a minute, that doesn't have customer value. Or, no, wait a minute, that's a crappy idea. Why are we doing that? Or, hey, we really rushed that garbage out. And that won't always make you the most popular person at the table, but it's still very important to our job. So, again, some of this plays into personality, some of this plays more into work activities, but I would say that you cannot be the type of person who wants to be popular and wants to be loved because very often in UX, we're not totally loved. We're giving tough love, and some people are thrilled to hear it, and some people really rebel against it. Ah, it really tastes good. It's not sponsored, but that tastes really good. It's decaf and coconut milk. I think that's all I put in there. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol, so that's kind of it. So I'm just going to run with that for now. Soft skills person, if you want to ask a follow-up question, let me know. Darren, if you want to suggest some other soft skills outside of the 10 traits everybody should have, which was a podcast Darren was on, um, throw it out there and I'll yell them out. Kathleen is here. Hello, Anonymous Bear. The next anonymous question I got today was, what tools do you use for analyzing survey results, both quantitative and for qualitative? Okay, so right now I am using Survey Gizmo. I'm a paid customer, not sponsored. Nobody gives me anything for free anymore. I got one thing for free and it's about to expire. So I'm like, ouch, that's like 2,000 a year. Ouch, ouch. So normally, if I need to, I don't run a lot of surveys. So see episode, I think it was 51. Again, if you go to YouTube, search Delta CX surveys, you're going to find, I think it was episode 51, on why surveys are usually not our best choice for pretty much anything. So you may want to have a look at that. But if I am running a survey, I will start with what is built into the survey system itself. So Survey Gizmo is a pretty advanced system. I am paying, I think, for their middle tier of paid account. It's about $1,000, $1,200 a year. I think it's 80 to 100 a month. It's up there, but I love it. Hey Niku, I see you on Instagram. I hope you've been well. Um, so I start by analyzing survey results in my survey tool. So Survey Gizmo has a lot of nice ways to sort, well, you don't really sort survey data, but to filter it based on different responses, to create segments out of people, like, hey, take everybody who answered this and put them in this segment, and then it lets you compare segments. Sometimes I'm taking data out of a survey and I'm putting it into Excel so that I can crunch some numbers in Excel, or I can draw my own charts and graphs from Excel. So I'm a little bit of an Excel person. Hopefully Oz will show up and say more about Excel. If you want to learn about Excel, you want to learn it from Oz. He's usually here. He shows up as Excel on Fire. So you want to go to YouTube and look for Excel on Fire. Oz is a wonderful person and fantastic Excel teacher. Darren is filling the chat with some more soft skills he recommends. So we've got curiosity, idealism, pragmatism, which might be opposites, adaptability, resilience. Yes, we did a whole podcast on resilience. Look up on YouTube, Delta CX resilience. You'll find it. Friendliness, neutrality, mental agility, perceptive. Yeah, lots of things. To work in UX, you've got to be a lot of things, and they're mostly positive. So I'd say that's a little about how I analyze survey results for quantitative. When it comes to qualitative, thing one, I don't think of surveys as particularly qualitative. When I think of qualitative research, I think more of observational studies and interviews. So if I am doing a survey, observational studies. I don't think, did I say observational surveys? Anyway, observational studies and interviews to me are qualitative. Surveys are not qualitative. Even if you ask an open-ended question, you're not guaranteed to get the same response you would if you were talking to a human. What if they didn't want to type it? What if they couldn't type it? What if it was too long? What if they're on the bus? So you don't always get, the longer, more colorful answers you might get in an interview. So I will tend to take qualitative survey results with a little bit of a grain of salt. And in general, survey results are a great reminder of the qualitative research we need to do. The survey might go, well, we thought we learned this, but now what do we really know? And remember that, again, please see episode 51, because a lot of surveys are just garbage. Do you want a feature that does a thing? Well, you've asked people to predict the future of what your feature will look like and whether or not they'll want it or use it or pay for it. So many surveys I think people run tend to be garbage. So to the person who asked the survey question, what do you run in surveys on? Because let me try to talk you out of it. Paul says friendliness is so underrated. For being as hard ass as we need to be, it doesn't hurt to let everyone know you're human and you care about them. Yep. I can dig it. The next question is best answered by Googling for my other videos, or YouTube searching. The question is how to empower UX designers in Agile. I've got 2 videos that I'd like to recommend for that, and you can find both of them quite easily if you go to YouTube, and I just tried this, Delta CX Agile. You're going to find episode 32, which was me talking to other UX and CX people about Agile and what we need to know about it and how we should be involved in it. And then you'll find a 45-minute talk that says Dev and UX, how correctly integrating UX processes or something like that improves engineering's efficiency and sanity. That is my talk aimed at non-UX people. So the problem is that Agile doesn't have anything built into it that empowers us, and Agile has a lot built into it that specifically disempowers us. So the talk that I give, and I have a variety and variations of them. I do some of them at conferences. I do some at private corporate training, so you can hire me. These short versions are on YouTube, and whether you use the episode 32 for your ammunition or you send the 45-minute ones to people at your company, so it's a great talk to send to product managers and product owners, agile coaches, scrum masters, project managers, portfolio managers. Send it to them, because the problem is Agile is really about how to do engineering. In many cases, it doesn't say anything about UX, or it misunderstands UX and says, yeah, just have somebody on the engineering team read a UX book and do it. So it's very hard to say, oh, yeah, here's the magic wand. Here is the magical way that we're just going to get UX empowered in Agile. It's really going to take a lot of education and discussion. And I've got a ton of videos and stuff on this because it's been my goal and mission to get people pushing Agile to understand that UX isn't in there. They have to specifically put it in. A lot of Agile just leaves it out. And so people end up guessing and making stuff up and saying, well, yeah, just have someone read a book. So we have to do a lot more to push it. And I hope that sending my 45-minute version out will be a good short way to do it. See if that helps. Or again, contact me privately and let me know more of what is going on. Couple of things coming into the let's see. Okay, no other questions coming in. So let's take a look at the last question I got that came in anonymously. So remember, this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. Please ask your questions. You can ask them anonymously. You can ask them in the YouTube chat, in the LinkedIn chat, or on Twitter with hashtag DeltaCX. I should be able to pick these up any of those 4 ways. Do not complain that I have not given you enough ways to ask me questions. And also remember, this URL will work throughout the week. So if you want to send questions in ahead of time, I do save them, and then you will be the first questions I answer. These are always archived in the Office Hours Ask Me Anything playlist. So if you miss one, you can always check back there and watch it back. The description will tell you what questions I answered, though it doesn't have timestamps. Darren says, also good to have a sense of humor. I agree. All right, so the last anonymous question I got in, then I'm all caught up, so bring on the questions, is what do you think about the company that encourages every designer without research experience to do their own research? I feel like we've covered this in almost every Office Hours. I'm going to have to make a note to make sure I have one of my new 5-minute perspectives videos on this. Everybody doing research. So for the 2 zillionth time, I don't think much of that company. You are absolutely welcome to cue this video up to this point and show it to your manager. But the problem with deciding that every designer can do research is that many people are not good at research. If they have not learned to do research, if they don't have experience doing research, then why are they doing research? The reality is that, does this happen in other jobs at our company? Do we go up to a a developer and say, hey, look, I know you've never deployed containers or set up a Kubernetes cluster before, but we need somebody to do it. So can you just do it? Well, no, they'd probably bring in a DevOps expert and have them do that. There's something very strange about UX, all of it. UX is like saying engineering. There's a mountain of things under there. There's something very strange about UX, which is that because it is so misunderstood, it's accidentally or on purpose disrespected. And part of that disrespect manifests in, hey, just have people read a book and then they can do UX. Hey, just give somebody an hour of training and then they can do research. And the problem is they can do it, but are they doing it well? Which brings us to my phases of proficiency model, as you can find in episode 56 in the live stream podcasts. If you say, let's have people do research, you're probably doing it at the lowest level of proficiency, what I call my building blocks. That is, can somebody do research? Can we get humans to talk to customers? Okay, you've talked to customers, but did you ask them the right questions in the right ways? Did you talk to the right customers? Did you conduct the research appropriately? Did you analyze it appropriately? Did you find the right opportunities and insights? Now we're in science and technique land. Now we care about how you did this and if you did it well. If you don't care how well something is done, then you're welcome to live down here in building blocks land where we give wrong people wrong jobs because it gets done. But I ask people to consider, if this were an open job at your company, would this person get it? So if this were an open UX researcher job, would this designer get this job? Probably not. If they wouldn't get this job, why are we giving them this work? And a lot of times the reasons are short-sighted and cheap. We don't want to hire somebody else. We'll save money. But do you understand the endless mountains of risk that you are creating for your company? You are creating an unbelievable amount of risk if you are wrong. What if we do research badly, incorrectly, not enough of it? Will somebody later on, when we build the wrong thing, when we release crap to the customer, when customer service is flooded with complaints, when sales is having trouble keeping customers, will someone turn around and look at your manager and go, I'm so glad you saved us that $5,000 by having those designers do that research? Ultimately, this is usually it's either done accidentally because people don't understand what UX is, so they just see UX on someone's resume, or they see a designer and they think everybody can do everything, which of course is not true. It's also not true in engineering. Or it's just out of cheapness. Like, oh wow, getting a real researcher to do this would cost us X, but nah, let's just give it to somebody else. You wouldn't do that in any other job at your company. They just don't. And so we should stop doing that with UX. Sometimes a company has an easier time bringing in freelancers or an agency than hiring somebody. So it might be hard for your manager or whoever's in charge here to hire more UX researchers, even though you clearly need them. What they might be able to get budget for is to bring in an agency or to bring in a freelancer. And that way you'd be able to say, hey, look, we went and found this senior level person. This person has 5, 8, 10 years of UX research experience. They're going to come in. They know what they're doing. They're hitting the ground running. They're going to do an expert job of this. Yeah, we're going to need to pay them X an hour for 4 weeks for 20, 30, 40 hours a week, but then we will have our reports from them and then we will go from there. That is ultimately, even though that seems like, oh, Deb, come on, we want to hire someone. I get it. You do want to hire someone, but this is plan B. Plan B is, can we bring in an expert temporarily? And that would be a good option because, number one, if you can show great research being done well, then that really can empower UX. It can make other people go, oh, look at what we get when we throw a few $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars at these experts. Wow, we get unbelievable, meaningful, actionable stuff that's actually going to drive our company in a much better direction. So we can end up empowering what we do more. We can end up proving that value and eventually in that longer term showing that ROI of good UX because we'll be able to say, think about all of the engineering hours and customer support time that we saved because someone did a better job up front. Lean would want that. Agile would want that. Six Sigma would want that. People have to stop being afraid to spend a little bit more money up front to get a better product later. All of your favorite companies do that. Apple does it. Disney does it. For their parks and resorts anyway. That's where I live, parks and resorts. That was a kind of a longish answer. I hope you played this for your manager. Please, please, please do not give research work to people who are not strong in research. Play to people's strengths. You can always have designers try to apprentice in research a little bit and try to learn, but don't give them the research. Make sure research is going to specialized experts because that's who does research well. And if you have anything being done at your company, why wouldn't you want it done well or correctly? Give me a good reason to have mission critical work done potentially mediocrely or poorly by people who might be guessing because they don't have this experience, or who might do it wrong because they don't have this experience or they're not good at it. This is very, very risky, especially since research is the foundation of so many projects. This is ultimately going to burn a lot of money for the company if done wrong. I just noticed my old Starbucks order is written on this cup in Sharpie, though of course I haven't seen a Starbucks in years. You will all be unsurprised to know that my Starbucks name is Decaf Debbie because I am allergic to caffeine. And I usually drink soy, but today I'm having coconut milk. I've been trying to switch. So Brian's got a good question, and he asks like, okay, but then where do you find great freelance researchers? They are out there and you're looking at one. So you're always welcome to ping me. I've got a fantastic team of people and we're always happy to put in a proposal on things. So let us know what you need. I'm actually doing that right now. We're doing a 3-month research project for a very famous company who's on track to do $1 billion this year. So they had a little bit of budget. But they have 14 researchers. They're just stretched too thin, so they brought us in. So I would say you've got me, you've got other UX agencies. You can always turn to quality recruiters like Leandrese, which I like to say, but she says Andres. Some people at Aquint might know some great UX researchers, but I think the key is going to be looking for senior talent. While I love to see juniors get jobs, this is not that time for that newbie or junior, because at least the original question was, why would we give research to someone with no research experience? So this is not a time to bring in the newbie who doesn't have the experience. It sounds like this is a situation that calls for someone with more deep or broad or both experience in research. So you're probably looking for 5, 8 or more years. But as for freelance researchers, they're really not that hard to find. Post to LinkedIn. You know, half the world's unemployed right now, or so it seems. Post to LinkedIn. That's always a nice, cheap way. Costs you nothing. Post to LinkedIn. Hey, we're looking for some freelance researchers. Ask people you trust. Go to, that's how I got the work I'm doing now. Someone went to someone, and that person said, try Debbie, and hidden job market, there you go. So, ask a friend, hey, so-and-so, do you know any freelance UX researchers who have experience in this and could do this and might be available right now? Oh, yeah, here's a couple of people you should check out. Maggie says, hi, Deb. Hi, Maggie. You might have missed my new graphic at the beginning. Hello, low ego action heroes, like Maggie. So there you go. And of course, that is my dog, Deanna. Paul likes my sarcastic gesturing. I try not to be sarcastic, so I must have been like, great, here we go. We're going to give research to people who don't know how to do research. Wonderful. Let's save some money. Paul says, ask Joel Barr on LinkedIn. He has a reliable stable. Yeah, Joel Barr is a great UX researcher and he's active on LinkedIn, so he's another good person to ping. Ultimately, I think LinkedIn is a great place to send some public messages or some private messages to people you trust and see who's available for what. Or, of course, plug. Have me put in a bid on it and a proposal. We'll see what happens. Proposals are free. For those just joining, I've switched to decaf with coconut milk today because I've been talking since before 10 a.m. and it's 7 p.m. here, and I have a call after this. So I'm really putting my Dutch vocalization method that I found on YouTube to the test. This appears to catch me up on questions. So this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I am here until 1/2 the hour, the next hour that is, to answer whatever questions you might have. When did this person book with me? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I told you I'm in the middle of a research project and I wasn't lying. Another participant just booked for tomorrow, and I just need to get them marked in the system so that I don't forget. I won't forget. They're in my system, but I have a bug in my booking system, which makes me have to add manual steps. Boo, manual steps. There you go. So let's check back. Any other questions? This is a very quiet office hours. Ask me anything. I hope everybody's been well. How are you, you peeps? And remember, you can ask questions all week long. I pick this up. These come to my email. I pick them up. They actually come through Survey Gizmo. So I use Survey Gizmo to give you a one-question survey, which is, what is your question? And then they come into my email. I hope you've all signed up for my upcoming Axure workshops and Axure videos. I've put it on sale from its usual $900 down to $60, 60. And if you sign up, you can get both my Axure core skills courses, which is over 9 hours of videos on Axure core skills. It's a course I wrote myself, which means it's pretty good. And you can also get the live 2-day workshop I'm going to do in early December. So hit deltacx.link/DEC2020. And you can register now. I think we have about 10 people registered. I'm hoping to get maybe 200 more. So I hope we'll have a huge turnout and do a big live Axure workshop and get everybody leveled up in the Axure world. Kathleen says, I'm doing well. I'm getting in my 20-minute workout while I listen to you. Oh, that is a great idea. Oh, hold on. I should get in my own workout while listening to me. Hold on. Yes, Kathleen is doing her workout, so I'm going to add mine. All right. All right, this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I'm your host, Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and we're all going to work out together while I wait for you guys to ask the next question. I'm going to pick up my standing desk a little bit, so it's more of a headshot. Standing desk, don't spill the coffee, don't spill the coffee. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so let's see. I've got 5, 6, I don't know, I think these are 6 kilogram each. So what are you doing? Paul says, do you think COVID will alter or change the kinds of qualitative responses we might expect from respondents because everything is becoming more remote? Do I think COVID will alter or change qualitative responses because everything is more remote? I'm not sure what you're shooting for here, Paul. Are you saying people are going to change how they change their attitudes, change how they feel about things? I have to admit, I'm not totally understanding your question. I hope you are. What do you mean? I'm going to turn on my fan too. What do you mean, Paul? Do I think COVID will alter or change the kinds of qualitative responses we might get from respondents? Yes. Yes, to what? That they're going to change their attitudes? Do I think people are changing their attitudes? It really depends. You know, as we've seen and throughout this year, there are some people who will not change their beliefs or attitudes no matter what they're faced with. So I think there are just some people who are not changing. You know, we even see people who are resistant to wearing masks or taking precautions. I think, you know, those are attitudes that are not changing. But then we do see other attitudes changing with respect to things about travel. People would like to travel right now, but they're afraid to. They're not doing it. That you hear that people are selling more RVs or more RV rentals. I think there are some attitude changes, but I don't think they're as broad as people think. That, you know, there are some people that dream of leaving cities, and there are some people very happy to stay in cities. So when I see these broad brushes that I've been reading about and trends that are like, oh yeah, everyone's going to move out of the city after COVID. I don't think they are. I think some people, you know, will and some won't. So I don't think COVID is going to change people as much as possible because people like to stay the same. But I wish people were changing. We need more shifts. We need shifts around health. We need shifts around racism. We need shifts around, well, gosh, I want to say health again when I think about America. I mean, healthcare in America, yikes. So we need some shifts in attitudes that will create change, but I'm not totally seeing those. And Frederick is here. Hello, Frederick. Frederick, did you ever get that book issue sorted out? I wrote to those people and they claimed they would contact you. I hope you got that sorted out. Frederick says, speaking of Axure, what's you guys' take on, oh, sorry, Slack just covered up your question. What's you guys' take on Axure, Invision, Sketch, Figma, Framer, XD, Origami, etc. Well, everybody who's listening, feel free to put in your comments to Frederick, and I'll read them out and let you know what you think of those. In my world, I pretty much only use Axure. To me, there's really no good reason to use anything that isn't Axure, so I definitely don't recommend Invision. I just feel like it's not a realistic enough prototyping experience. It doesn't make sense to call something a prototype and have it just be a click through, because then we can't really take that to realistic user testing. And that's a problem, because I think people do try to use these things for usability testing or other types of testing. And now people are testing an unrealistic version. So what have you tested? So I tend to, when it comes to prototyping, I'm not a fan of anything that looks or feels unrealistic. So that's why I'm very into Axure. Darren says, great point. So that's why I'm not into Invision. Yeah, thank you, Darren. With respect to Sketch, I don't use it. I am on Windows, so I can't use it even if I want to. One job expected me to use it at one point, and I had to install a virtual machine to run Macness, and then I had to put on Sketch. So I do own a license, but I don't enjoy Sketch, and I don't want to use it. Figma, Framer, I have not. Figma, Framer, XD, Origami, I have not tried. Because again, like to me, once you're in Axure, you kind of don't need anything else. You know, maybe Principle if you really want to show how something is going to be animated. But in general, I feel like I don't need or want these things. So let's hear about what other people like. Kathleen is giving XD the thumbs up. I was just doing a coaching session before this with someone, and I think he was giving XD the thumbs up. So I think these might be some good choices. I think that might be it for my workout for now, since I'm trying to talk at the same time. Kathleen, how's your workout going? I'm not going to like get on the floor or anything. Paul says Axure versus HTML and CSS. I think that in general, Axure is not going to write HTML and CSS for you. Certainly, the coding it writes is not meant to be on a production server. It might be okay for staging and certainly okay for the purposes of an Axure prototype, but it's not going to be, hold on, standing desk down. It's not going to be finalized code. That's mostly me, right? Maybe pick it up one. Oh. Adjustable standing desk, not sponsored. Kathleen says getting sweaty, LOL. I'm not, I'm just shiny today. I only put on a little concealer before I start. I don't do the whole makeup, which is how you see I've got 2 pimples. Darren says Adobe XD is not ready for prime time. He likes Axure and UX Pin. Someone on LinkedIn the other day was trying to tell me to try ProtoPie. They thought it was better than Axure and could do all the things Axure can do. I don't know. And back to Paul's Axure or HTML and CSS. Hard to say. I think that some people just prefer to write code. I don't. I feel very done with that. And also, you have to decide, is it worth writing code if this prototype doesn't test well? How long will it take you to fix or change what's wrong and recode all of it? Like, is that time best spent, and which is faster or more efficient? A tool like Axure or trying to write the code. And I rarely think it's writing the code, but that may be up to the coder. Oh, Kathleen says she's sweaty. I figured it was you, but then I looked all shiny at myself, and then I was like, oh, is it me? No, I'm just shiny. And I'll turn off my fan. Oh. So that's some thoughts on that, Frederick. I am not sponsored by Axure. I do not have to recommend them, but I do. Kathleen likes how lightweight XD feels and that they've been adding more features to it. Yeah, it's only been around a few years, so it's still relatively new. Maybe that's why Darren feels it's not ready for prime time. And Darren also says, there's no comparison between code and tools. Certainly, you can do a lot more with code. You can plug into APIs and databases and things like that if you really want to be completely realistic, because it is code. But I also find that sometimes getting code to work or look right can be slower for some people. So we have to measure the pros and cons of that. Darren says the speed of the tools, especially fostered through extensibility, is off the charts. Yeah. And now some people complain to me, hey, Deb, I don't like that Axure, at the end of using Axure, you don't end up with usable code. And I say, I bet the engineering department is okay with that. Why were we writing code? That's the engineer's job. We don't like when they try to do our job. Why are we trying to do theirs? So let the engineers write the code. Let's see. Paul says, but if I'm good, I get a developer a head start. If you're good and it tests well and you don't have to redo it and it's working and blah, 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 there's just a bunch of ifs there. And if those ifs work for you, then enjoy it. We're not going to stop you. Oh yeah, don't forget tomorrow. It was rescheduled twice, but it is back. Tomorrow is our podcast live on finding your excuse me, I'm having this coffee. Finding your life purpose. All right, we've got an anonymous question came in a minute ago. Thank you for your patience. Let me get it copied and pasted into my document that ends up the description of the YouTube video. And Darren says, don't forget that one of UX's major benefits is saving time and money associated with rework. We must keep that in mind. I agree. If you watch the podcast I did on the cost of poor quality with Deborah Gill Hesselgrave. You'll see all about the Lean Six Sigma concept of cost of poor quality and how what it can cost our companies when we have to change things or redo them, things like that. And of course, that's one of those risks that UX can be mitigating. See earlier question. All right, we've got an anonymous question that says, would you offer some thoughts on design systems in conjunction with DevOps? Are there any synergies there? Kind of find it hard to see other areas where the DevOps thing comes into play for us as designers. Yes, there is not a lot of overlap between DevOps and the UX world. We did a podcast episode, what was it, 71, 72, 73. It was pretty recent, a month ago maybe, with Ishwaran, and I met him at a DevOps conference, and he's a DevOps and Agile specialist, and he talked about what is DevOps. And I think the main overlap between what DevOps is shooting for and some things we care about is going to be, Venn diagram, done badly, culture. We want to improve the culture. We want our jobs and situations to improve. DevOps claims one of their core goals is improving culture, which would mean, hypothetically, DevOps could be our allies if we want to say we're being disrespected, circumvented, overruled, and generally pooped on. We would hope that some DevOps people or a leader like Ishwaran, someone who might be an Agile coach or something like that, might say, oh yeah, we shouldn't poop on UX. That's bad for culture. Let's figure that out. Not sure I can post that one, Darren. Stephanie is here and says, Kathleen, I agree with you about XD being a great tool for newbies like myself. Kathleen says it's great for newbies. Darren says, I'm part of the creative advisor community to help drive XD. We're not getting much done right now. Oops. That's okay. Things take time. Oh, we still have bugs here, even though it's fall. Ugh. So yes, I think in general, DevOps and our world don't overlap that much. DevOps being developer operations, so it's more of that operational side of engineering and trying to get things released to the public in a recurring cadence and things like that. So the best thing you can do is just go to your Agile coach or DevOps peeps and say, hey, we're UX. We care about this, this, and this. We're trying to do this, this, and this. What can we do together? How can we support each other? What can I do or give or provide or create that helps you in some way? Just go build that bridge yourself. Because the answer may surprise both of us. I don't know. I think in general there isn't a lot of overlap. And I had someone get on a coaching call with me recently and say, ooh, how can I be a product designer and do DevOps? And I'm like, I don't think those overlap other than we care about culture and we want to see our company building the right product and not having a lot of rework to do. So we care about some of the DevOps goals, but there isn't that much we can do other than try to convince DevOps people to help us get Agile peeps to let us do our jobs. Vivian says, hi, Debbie, nice to be here. Hello, Vivian, welcome. Darren says, newbies don't know what they're missing, so they won't see the flaws. When I'm mentoring, I steer people away. Figma dwarfs XD from a functionality perspective. When I steer people that way, they won't need to relearn anything or experience another learning curve. Yeah, Figma is very hot right now, but remember, every few years, something else is hot. Axure's been warm all along, and we had Sketch was super. You remember it was OmniGraffle? Hands up, who remembers OmniGraffle and iRise? Those were hot, and you pretty much couldn't get a job without those. And then they mostly melted away, and then it was Sketch. Everybody wanted Sketch, and you could barely get a job without knowing Sketch. And then now you're seeing Sketch a little bit less, and you're seeing Figma for everything, or Adobe XD. And remember, every few years it changes. And I always say, try to learn the tools that do the most. If you can learn the tools that do the most, then you can learn the tools that do less. Like I'm great with Axure. I assume I could learn Figma in hours. I assume I could learn all these things in hours because I've already learned one of the hardest things out there. Plexus says Visio. Yes, Axure can replace Visio because Axure does flowcharts. Ah, this tastes so good. This is just decaf coffee and coconut milk. Frederick says, I don't have much to offer as to the DevOps and design system question, but I'd like to see another design system episode, Deb, in addition to the one we did. Wasn't that episode like 13? 16? Delta CX design system. We've got an episode on that. It was in the 10s. And it had Sarah. What did we miss, Frederick? What did we miss, Frederick? Tell me what that design system podcast missed, and I will put it on a list. Darren says, I still like OmniGraffle, but I don't use it that much. Yeah, I never liked it. Vivian says, hey, totally agree. Tools are just that, tools. Yep, tools can help you. Tools can get in your way. So I think choosing tools is important. But certainly, if you're not great at CX and UX work and tasks, the tool's not going to save you. I try to remind people, I think it's great to learn Axure and to do realistic prototypes. But if you're bad at interaction design, Axure is not going to make you better at interaction design. Axure is a separate skill from interaction design. Darren says, don't miss my iRise comment. Oh, I did. Darren said, in fact, if you really don't want me to miss it, then I'll put it up on the screen. I loved iRise, but the 6-figure startup cost was a bit much. LOL. Yeah, I remember when I was working at Wells Fargo, I think they were semi-using it. And when I saw what it cost, I just fell out of my chair and I was like, I've got Axure. I'll build everything. It's 2012. Paul's getting out the popcorn. He says Darren is on fire. Stay cool, Darren. Oh, who knows what I'm whistling? Name that tune. Paul will know. I have a feeling Paul will know. Yes, Darren says, no tool makes up for a lack of skill or acumen. Yep, well, I said it, so I agree with me. But I do think that's important to remember. So tools are good to know. Put tools on your resume and CV. You put them in your portfolio, something you built with them, but it doesn't mean you're good at other stuff. Darren and Paul got it. Thank you. Though I'm not a musical theater person, I am a Dutch symphonic metal person. But I've been talking for the last 9 hours, so I don't think I'm going to do a lot of singing today, but I am doing my Dutch singing method. I know this looks terrible, doesn't it? You blow bubbles and it helps relax your voice. I learned this. Go on YouTube and look up Lax Vox method. Try to get the English one, not the Dutch one. And then you sing while blowing bubbles, and it relaxes your voice. So I've been making sure to blow bubbles. Now, this was a lemon juice jar, and I used this one because I found when I used a cup and I started blowing bubbles, it all splashed up in my face. Usability testing. So there you go. Oh, Darren's getting all philosophical now. Darren says the best tool is the human mind. Yes, always true. And keep that one sharp, everybody. And Vivian says that's the last on tools. Right. I think we've covered tools. This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I'm here for another 10 minutes. I'm also here every Tuesday at this time for an hour, just taking your questions and hanging out with all of you in my low ego action hero community. So I don't see any other questions coming in, but you can send them in through the LinkedIn chat, the YouTube chat, tweeting with hashtag DeltaCX, or this link, deltacx.link/AMA will take you to ask a question anonymously where I won't know who you are. Paul says, gotta go. Get offline. You're going to start paying physically. I'm okay. I don't sleep well some nights, and I'm allergic to caffeine, as you learned from my cup, so I just have to do my best to hold it together and put on a good show. Thank you, Paul. It was just weird. I have 4 remote observational research studies to do today. I did 90 minutes teaching my apprentices about Gestalt principles and the 4 horsemen of bad UX, my registered trademark. I had a 1-hour coaching call. I attempted to eat somewhere in between that. That's mostly that. Vivian said it's been fun. First time I got here. Yes, welcome. A question is coming in anonymously. Let's see what it says. Ooh, it's a big one. All right, copy paste. Here it comes. I work in a team where we don't really test realistic prototypes and interaction. They're pleased with testing more overarching flows, etc. in our professional task support system. Might not be the best translation. Any smaller interaction pattern that does not work during usability is disregarded, as this is a professional decision support system that would require training regardless, and they will pick it up by the second time that they use it. Regardless, how can I go about changing this? And Frederick asked me, why do I do a hand gesture with the 4 horsemen? That is because I don't have enough hands to say the 4 horsemen is my registered trademark, which means R in a circle. When you register trademark, if your trademark isn't registered, it's TM. If you did register it with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, it's R in a circle. I don't know how to make an R in a circle with only 2 hands, so I just do this. R in a circle. Which means don't steal it, including someone who already tried earlier this year, who isn't watching because we're enemies. So back to that question. How do you go about Okay, so the way I take this question is, how do I go about changing an attitude that people have that either certain types of testing aren't really needed, or better interaction design isn't really important because we're going to train people anyway, and they'll pick it up, they'll figure it out. I always find it funny that you'll always hear companies say, like, our users are idiots. Our users are so stupid. Our users do stupid things. And then the next breath they go, but this shitty thing we designed, they'll figure it out. And I'm always like, well, either they're the dumbest people in the world or the smartest, because you can't put both of them together. But I'm just so amazed how you always hear, like, our users are stupid, but they'll figure this out. Really, how? Bye, Darren. See you later. Thanks for coming. So it's sometimes hard to change some of these attitudes that companies have. They've held them for a long time, and because this company has had some success and some growth, they tell themselves, we must be doing it right. We don't have to change. Why should we change? We're going to train them anyway. And I think what's going to be important for someone like the anonymous question asker would be, it sounds like someone is thinking short-sightedly only about training, but let's think about the ongoing usage of this tool. It sounds like this is a tool that people might use daily, weekly, you tell me. But if it's being used repeatedly, and if there's anything in that tool that causes the 4 horsemen of bad UX to show up, frustration, confusion, disappointment, or distraction. So if there's something frustrating or confusing in this tool, remember that you've made these people inefficient or less efficient. Companies usually care about efficiency and productivity because they understand that this time translates to money. Where people are inefficient, where they're not getting things right, they're not meeting quotas, or they weren't as productive as they could be, people get written up, people get in trouble, people are dissatisfied with their jobs, and everybody knows how much they've hated feeling held back by a system that made their work harder, less efficient, whatever the case may be. So my suggestion would be, I don't know if some observational research would help here, but it sounds like people need to care that whether or not the training time happens will, just because someone picked something up doesn't mean that they are efficient, doesn't mean that they are as productive as they could be, doesn't mean that they're having a good time in the system, doesn't mean that they're not making mistakes. And so I think we have to remind someone that this frustration, confusion, disappointment, distraction, uh, mistakes, errors, lower productivity, lower efficiency, they do cost our company. They cost in morale, they cost in workers who might leave, they cost in the amount of time it takes us to get things done. Those workers might be slower than they should be. So there are some calculators online of the ROI of what if a task took 1 minute instead of two, or what if a task took 90 seconds instead of 4 minutes. There's a way to calculate the savings and the benefits to the company when we make workers more efficient, because time turns into money. So I would say you might need to take a look at that, because chances are people are not going to care about just have empathy for users. They clearly don't care. Or just care about the user. They don't. So you might need to make it more about company numbers, efficiency, productivity. Um, I hope that helps. If you're still here, if you have a follow-up question, let me know. We've just got a few minutes left together, which means let me remind everybody to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring that bell so you know when I'm live or posting videos. And won't you please hit the like button if you're on YouTube? It really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And since I'm not charging you, it's a small ask. So please empathize with the like button. And of course, if you'd like to join our Slack community, it is completely free. No sneaky stuff there. And Frederick is asking, how is the designer and developer handoff in Axure? And it looks like Plexus started answering this, but I will post it on my list of questions. Plexus said, I typically deliver Axure work. Let's see if we can get this up here. I typically deliver Axure work either as a PDF design spec or an online prototype. I typically prototype as a wireframe, so prototype's instantly available. Devs like the prototype. I agree with Plexus. I tend to work directly in Axure in prototypes. I don't usually wireframe, and I tend to deliver that prototype to engineering, who usually prefers it more than a giant stack of documentation. They go, oh, we can step through this. We can see how it works. We can see an error state. We can see this state, because I can make them all work in Axure. I can always give them some documentation to go with it, but it probably will be way fewer pages than lots of wireframes with notes, and hoping that the developers interpret the wireframes as I meant and interpret the notes as I meant. So, and then I think also, don't think of it as much as a handover, but the start of a collaboration, because that way when the developers, make sure the developers know if they have any problems or questions or something seems missing or there's an ambiguity or a missing use case, they should tag you in the ticket. Unfortunately, developers sometimes go, we're good at this stuff, we'll fix this, we'll come up with a thing. Make sure they know that the best way to collaborate with you and not to step on any toes or ruin the culture is to put you in the loop and to tag you. If they make a ticket for this, tag you in the ticket, assign it to you, make sure it's your work. We don't want engineering stabbing at UX solutions at things. It's going to hurt culture and it could hurt the product. Vivian says, bye for now. You're awesome. Thank you, Vivian. I'm just getting to know you, but you might be awesome as well. So I hope everyone will connect with me more directly so I can get to know you. You're getting to know me. Frederick says, I find it hard to advocate for good UX and work-related software that companies mandate their employees to use because they can't use a competitor. Yeah, I've got an article somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. It is about the value of making, investing in better UX when something is for internal workers. Let me see if I can find that article. I forgot what I named it. Oh, here it is. Okay, so you can find this by Googling because it doesn't have a really good memorable URL. I'll put the URL up on the screen, but I apologize that this is not going to be the type of thing. You can't click on the screen and go to this, so I apologize. But it is, if you Google CMS Wire, why good UX for internal customers matters, you'll probably find my article. Or you could put CMS Wire Levitt, internal customers. I think that's how I found it. That should pull it up. I don't think I've moved this one. I can't remember if I moved this one over to Medium or not. It could be on Medium as well. But I always have to publish first to CMS Wire. It's just my agreement with them. So it's definitely there. CMS Wire, Levitt, internal customers. And it's not a long article, but it's got some of my ideas on why we should care about the experience for coworkers. Because I always used to hear like, oh, the product's pretty simple. We don't need to do UX on it. Oh, yes, you do. You think it's simple, but it can still suck. Hey, we're almost out of time. So if there's any other questions, please do ask now. Otherwise, please join tomorrow where our live podcast will be Finding Your Life Purpose. I can't guarantee you're going to find it during the podcast, but we are going to help you look. So please join tomorrow for Finding Your Life Purpose. Hands up, who's coming tomorrow? Have any of you found your life purpose? And are you living it? Could you hear that? One more call, and then I can sleep. Well, I guess we'll wind down. So thanks again to everybody. Again, please subscribe, press the like button. Stephanie says, I'm excited for tomorrow. Yes, me too. We had to reschedule it twice. I can't wait. So see everybody tomorrow for Finding Your Life Purpose, and see how you do with that. Cause I scheduled it because so many people say, is UX the right career for me? And I go, I don't know. Only you know. I can tell if you're doing well at it, but I can't tell you if it's the right path for you. You got to find that out. So I'm glad Stephanie will be there. Hopefully some others will join. So on that note, I guess I will sign off and do the rest of my adventures tonight. And I hope everybody is well and will stay well. And I guess I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for watching. Delta CX is available for consulting and projects related to CX and UX strategy, leadership, training, problem finding, problem solving, and innovation. Learn more at deltacx.com.